Welcome to the Better Stack podcast. Today we're going to be talking about ChatGPT-5 and its release and the massive backlash that seemed to come out of it. Then we'll talk about coding AI tools, like all of the CLI tools that you can get, and also the protocols that work with AI agents. I'm your host, James. I'm joined by Richard.
Hey, guys.
I'm joined by Andris.
Hey, how's it going?
And let's jump into talking about ChatGPT-5.
Sorry, James. The way you pronounce my name is Andris, not Andris.
Sorry about that. I'm going to let you say your own names, and that will solve everything for me.
Yes.
Welcome to the Better Stack podcast. Today we're going to be talking about the ChatGPT-5 release and also the backlash that came out of it. Then we'll be talking about all of the AI coding tools and CLIs that you can get, and we'll talk about the AI agent protocols. I'm joined by
Richard
and Andris. Hey, hello. How's it going?
And I'm your host, James. So let's jump right in and talk about the ChatGPT-5 release. So ChatGPT-5 was released, I think, around last week, and it came out with the live stream being pretty awkward as ever. But in the live stream, they had some benchmarks with some graphs that were wrong. But if you ignore those, the benchmarks were supposed to be absolutely amazing. It's supposed to be the best model at coding. It was PhD level, could answer questions better than any other model. And then users got their hands on it and reported things being a lot different from the way that they announced everything. It seems there was a lot of backlash against that one. I don't know if you guys had a chance to use it and if you had opinions.
Can we just talk about how Apple-like the stream was? I don't know if any of you watched the live stream, but so professional they were going for that.
I didn't see the live stream, but I do want to comment on some other YouTubers that I saw that were talking about it. But you go first with the live stream.
I know, I was just saying it was really polished. Sorry.
They went to the school of Apple for like hand gestures and everything. They all have to start like this and then do hand gestures. It's like, it's a weird style of like scripted versus like it kind of trying to seem natural. But I think, everyone has copied Steve Jobs since he started keynotes. And I
think Sam Altman thought this is going to be like an iPhone moment. Because the thing is, I don't know if you know this YouTuber, Cleo Abrams. She's like a big journalist.
Yes.
She did like an hour-long podcast interview with Sam Altman. And from that interview, they talked about like existential things, almost like this is going to change the world. And then I was like, and then I also saw Theo's video where he had like an existential crisis with the model. And I thought like, oh, this is really going to change everything. But then it's like, you start seeing users using it and all these benchmarks are just, not showing it. I mean, like they hyped it up so much, like too much hype was behind it.
It's the first time I've seen them do like active marketing as well, because obviously they filmed with Cleo before, they gave Theo the model before it, and also Mr. Who's the Boss had like a video on ChatGPT, but they all came out the second the live stream started, so they've obviously all had early access. So OpenAI are actually seemingly pushing to win in the AI race.
For sure.
But it's hard to trust Sam Altman when he's on podcast talking existential, because obviously he has the most to gain from everyone thinking AI is going to be the next greatest thing. He's the head of the biggest AI company that we have. So.
But Theo thought that as well. He did mention that in his video.
He has since apologized, which I think gets to the point of what went wrong with the GPT-5 release. Is his argument is that he actually had a different model before it came out, which I can kind of believe. These models are always sort of constantly trained and different variations of them are put out. And the thing that made the GPT-5 release so confusing, I think, was the fact that it has that router system where you would it was some of the older models still in the system, but then it was just choosing which one it would need. And it seemingly chooses the wrong one more times than people want it to.
So if I understand it correctly, and for our listeners, so the way the new model works is that like it has a router that reroutes your requests to older models if it deems necessary that this particular question would be best handled by O3 or whatever. I
don't want us to get in trouble. It's improved versions of the older models, not the exact same ones. It's like GPT-5 versions of them. But essentially that's it.
Yeah, and it would pick essentially if it thinks it needs reasoning for your question. And I actually saw it in the Theo video. He mentioned that only like 30% of ChatGPT users were actually using reasoning before then. So they were just actively choosing the 4.0 model, which people seem to like. I mean, I literally saw posts on Reddit of people begging for 4.0 to come back because they'd like made friends with it. I don't want to talk on that side of things. Please do not make friends with your AI model. But apparently GPT-5 had like it felt cold to some people in the way that it responded, and seemingly it was just sort of choosing the wrong model under the hood to respond with, and Yeah, under the hood, it was just confusing what models were actually there, because you have GPT-5, then there's GPT-5 like medium, GPT-5 high, and seemingly the one that you have in Cursor for coding is GPT-5. You can go in the settings and turn on GPT-5 high, and apparently that one is better. But like, this is where it comes back to all of this confusion around the release. Like, what model was the benchmarks done on? Like, what is GPT-5? It's I can see why a lot of people are confused and disappointed.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
I was talking to some people about this the other day, and it feels like we're reaching a point where it's like almost Android versus Apple debates, but about like AI companies and their models. Like, some people love Anthropic, they'll never leave. Some people love OpenAI. Obviously you've got Google and that lot still in the fight. So it's it's a weird world where people are getting like personally attached to the feel of an AI, but it sort of is going that way. Some people just get a better feel from Claude Sonnet in the way it codes with them. Some people get a better feel from GPT-5, because that was one of the arguments is GPT-5. One thing it's really good at is following instructions. Like, it will follow exactly what you put in the prompt. And then Claude Sonnet might go off and like be a bit more creative and decide to do something for you. And some people prefer that way. Like, it will go off and realize it needs to do this instead. And then some people don't like that way, because obviously if it's doing something you didn't expect, it can be confusing. So again, it's like a feel of a model. It's weird.
Yeah, and I also think like the clients that are using them maybe are better fine-tuned for some models. So that's why maybe Codex performs better with GPT-5. Because I tried GPT-5 with my favorite agentic tool, Goose, and it was just a train wreck. Like I asked to, scaffold a project, and it scaffolded just the basic files, and there was like a file app.tsx where you're gonna put your React code, but it didn't actually put any code, and I was like, okay, this doesn't work. Whereas with Codex, it was better. Yeah, it's so weird. But I think like maybe the MCP configuration behind those tools are not fine-tuned for that particular model. I think that's the issue with it. But even with Codex, I tried GPT-5. I asked like this stupid silly challenge, like can you make a MySpace page like the old MySpace page with Tom being your default friend when you create an account and everything, and it did a pretty good job. But when I looked at the code, it was React in one file, just one file, app.tsx, with all the React code in it. So it didn't even structure the files properly. And that was just weird to see, even with Codex doing such a bad job with it.
Yeah.
Codex is terrible, in my opinion. I tried to use it for my GPT-5 video. It crashed like 5 times in ways that I've never seen Claude Code crash. It just seems a lot more unpolished. Because I tried to use it in the video thinking like Codex is going to be the best chance to get GPT-5 to perform, because it's their tool. But it seemingly didn't work out that way. But I know they've worked with Cursor, and they brought them in to obviously like make sure the model works well with Cursor, and seemingly it still hasn't worked out well for them, because people are reporting that even Cursor works differently to the way that GPT-5 first was when they were testing and things like that. So it's certainly an odd rollout. They definitely botched the rollout of this somehow. I'm not too sure exactly what the root cause of all of this was, but overselling never really helps.
Here's my prediction. I think they're gonna release a GPT-5 coder model just for coding. To, I don't know, regain the trust of developers who just were super disappointed with this release. That's just my prediction. I think that's what they're going to do next.
Yeah, they've already
lost developers. So,
yeah, for sure.
I struggled to see if they even had developers in the first place. Anthropic really do have a hold on developers. It's the model that does just seem to understand what developers are thinking the most. Like, I still use Claude Force on it, like, a lot. It just understands me, I think, better. And Claude Code is just way better than Codex and other tools out there. Claude Code seems to work really well. So I don't know if they ever had developers in the first place, but they certainly tried to win them with the release of this. They focused on it quite a lot in like the release video. And I don't think they've succeeded yet. Talking of Claude Code, though, I saw some of your videos recently, Richard, diving into the Crush CLI tool, and you've tried out a few AI tools. How are they going?
Yeah, I have. I think I've spent a lot of time with AI tools, specifically Claude Code, but I'm a huge fan of Open Code just because I like the people behind it. They have their own podcast. I'm not sure if you guys know of Dax and Adam. Kind of.
Yeah.
They hang out with Prime as well, but I don't want to get into that. But yeah, so those guys are really cool. They made Open Code, and the reason they made Open Code is because they had their own version of Open Code, which is, for those who don't know, Open Code is like a agentic coding tool in the terminal, similar to Claude Code, but you can use whatever models you want. And Charm. So Charm is a company that make tools for terminals and they make it in Go. Crush bought their version of OpenCode, but didn't kind of give them access to change it. So they made their own from scratch. And that's the OpenCode under the SSH repo, if you know, SST, not SSH, SST repo. And so moral of all of that is they have their own, which is doing really well. And then Charm changed theirs to Crush, and Crush is now released. And it is really cool. I think I like the animations. I mean, it's the best looking terminal tool I've ever used. Animations are really cool. Colors are really cool. But because they started it behind all of like OpenCode and Claude Code, they're missing a bunch of features. But it does feel really nice to use. And I think in terms of AI coding tools, Claude Code is still the best. OpenCode is my personal favorite, but Crush is getting there just with animations and colors. That's really nice. But what are your guys' experience with CLIs? I think, James, you're not a fan of Codex, but there must be.
Well, I'm still, just a bit of a big fan of Claude Code. I've tried OpenCode for some of the other models, but Claude Code just seems to have the best understanding for me. And I haven't had a reason to switch yet, but I have seen even Cursor released one recently, which kind of seems backwards that Cursor released a CLI, but I guess they're trying to go for the audience that likes Claude Code as well. Overall, my main experience has been OpenCode and Claude Code has seemingly been the leader in this CLI space for some time now.
Yeah, I've been doing some research into a bunch of the new features Claude Code have released, and they've got like a way to kind of customize your status line, so you can kind of put like the weather if you want and the time and like whatever model, which is really nice. So I don't know how often I'm going to use it, but I also like the whole Opus plan mode that they've released, so you can plan in Opus and execute in Sonnet, which is great if you don't want to use up all your Opus credits, because I guess there's a limit if you're on a certain plan. I guess you get more if you're on Max, but if you're on Pro, you have a certain amount, and so it's nice to be able to plan with Opus, but then execute with Sonnet, which now has a 1 million token window, which is amazing.
Yeah, I saw some benchmarks recently, actually. I don't have the exact numbers, but it was Claude Code's understanding or the way that it indexes a code base was just a lot better than everyone else's, which I think is what most people experience when they use Claude Code. Is it just, as I said, it literally is, it's just a feeling that it gets it. It understands things way better for me. And yeah, Codex, I mean, I never really got to see if it had that or not, because it just kept crashing on me. It would literally try and replace a line in a file and then it would crash. So I don't know about Codex, but OpenCode is definitely up there. It worked really well when I tried it out with other models.
It's funny you should mention benchmarks, because I've done some research into benchmarks as well, and GPT-5 is really, really high. Like, despite the fact that developers don't like it, it's usually Claude at the top and then GPT-5 second, or for some benchmarks, GPT-5 is the first. So yeah, it's just either they must have held back some of the models or are doing something funny when they released it.
Yeah, I was going to say, the benchmarks. How well can you trust the benchmarks? Because where is the certainty that some of those models haven't used the benchmarks for their training, so it kind of bleeds into your coding challenges, you know? So it almost needs to be like kept in a black box that no AI model has access to have a really what's the word I'm looking for? A really fair benchmark for that model.
Yeah. And just, you've opened a can of worms, because it's true what you're saying, but not all the benchmarks work like that. So I don't know how much I can go into this. There's a benchmark called the SWE bench, which is a software engineering benchmark, where they have thousands of GitHub issues from Python repos, and they get AIs to create PRs and run tests and all that stuff. And SWE bench verified is like a hand-picked, human verified, like best of those issues. And that was done in conjunction with OpenAI. So OpenAI had a hand in creating that benchmark. And so those issues, the kind of subset of issues, is 500 out of the 2,200, whatever. Those issues never get updated. So they're always the same 500, and any model can kind of train on those 500 and get really good at that. But there are benchmarks like the Live Code Bench, where they get questions from like LeetCode, AtCoder, those kind of websites. They get loads of questions from those. And they only give models the questions that after their training cutoff point. So they only get trained on unseen questions or on unseen tasks. Similarly, I think Ada, there's another one called Ada Polyglot. I think that one might be old questions as well. I can't remember. Don't quote me on that.
But here's another thing with that. Like, how do you know when the cutoff point happened? Like, that's not publicly available information, right?
Yeah.
I think they do sometimes publicize it. You get the model card, which can often contain it. And I think they did put it in their research paper. Obviously, I mean, it's how much you trust the company, but I assume they wouldn't lie about that. The other thing is obviously trusting, companies not to specifically train against benchmarks. Because I believe OpenAI actually said in this one they weren't even trying for the benchmarks. They were going for like real world coding.
Mm-hmm.
But they did well on the benchmarks as well. But again, it's the line between marketing and what actually happens.
Yeah, and I also think like they do have an incentive to make those models better because that makes better products for them.
Yeah.
So there's no reason to cheat in that unless you want to just do a marketing stunt and say, hey, this is better than what Anthropic is doing. So come to us, use our product.
Yeah, I mean, I think the big one on that, and not to get into the drama, was a lot of people claimed that Grok 4 was trained against, I think, the ARC AGI benchmark because it's still winning that by quite a bit. And Sam Altman and Elon love a good fight on Twitter. So they had one of them recently. And I won't go into that side of drama, but Grok's in a weird place as a model where it's like, it seemingly does well on the benchmarks, but I have never heard of a developer using it for coding, but apparently it is still the best coding model on some benchmarks.
Really? Wow, okay.
I assume you guys have never tried to use Grok for coding.
Not for coding,
Never.
no. Research, X posts, all that stuff, but not really coding.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a bad model. I've tried it out, but I've never actually, as I said, specifically used it for coding, so it's certainly a weird one. The other thing that surprised me about Claude Code and CLI tools in general is we actually polled our YouTube audience, and 50% of them said they use Claude Code, and like 25% Cursor, 25% GitHub. I was just really surprised that Claude Code as a CLI tool gained that much sort of popularity among developers. I think it really does show that it has something there that I keep talking about of like that feel. Not to be rude to developers, but I was sort of surprised that like VS Code or Cursor, something with a nice polished UI, didn't win on that poll when it was actually a terminal tool that won, which is nice to see. I mean, it's awesome. But yeah, that definitely surprised me.
Yeah, funny you should say that because there's someone I follow, there's someone I follow on X who's called, her name's Sarah, I've forgotten her last name. She focuses on making like YouTube studio setups, so like cameras, lights, all that stuff. That's her expertise. And she was vibe coding an app with V0 and she said, V0 had a ton of issues. So she's going to try Claude Code. And I was like, well, from V0 to Claude Code is like a massive jump because you have to use terminal, all that stuff. But she did it and she's like, yeah, Claude Code one-shotted my issue. I'm moving away from V0 to Claude Code. And that was it. And a normie, not even a developer, who moved away from a nice UI tool to Claude Code because it just works.
Yeah, I believe you're on about Sarah Dici, rhymes with Peachy.
That's it. Yeah.
It almost feels like Anthropic is trying to target developers primarily. They want to be like the most friendliest AI for developer audience, whereas I think maybe something like OpenAI tries to tame a bigger market or, not non-technical people.
Well, no, I think that's definitely true because I'd say it's kind of all Anthropic have. I don't know many people outside of the development world that would come to me and say they were using Claude the other day. They would almost all see AI and LLMs as OpenAI and ChatGPT.com. Like that is to them what AI is, or Grok, and then that's sort of it. So yeah, I think Anthropic sort of have to now. They've been forced in that direction.
Do you know any, rumors or anything? Are they going to release something new soon?
I mean, they did have 4.1 Opus, which was just a bit of an improvement on Opus the day GPT-5 came out, I believe, or it was the day before. I don't think they have the next best model coming out soon because, I mean, Claude Sonnet 4 isn't even that old. And they're still seemingly winning. A lot of developers have gone back to Claude and Opus and all of that. So yeah, I guess they'll work along on their next one as much as they want.
I think they need to make their own terminal. That to me is a logical direction. Just like
what, Claude
terminal? No, the Claude one. Yeah, because I use Warp and there are things that Warp does that I would never do in Claude Code, and I'd want to, but just because of just the way the terminal works. Like if I'm running a dev server and I get an error, I can tell Warp, hey Warp, what's going on with this? And with Claude Code, you have to copy and paste the error into it. And I know Claude Code has like a background task, so you can run npm whatever in the background, and it will constantly read the standard output. But I don't see it. It's kind of like hidden in the background, and I want to see it, and that's why I do it in the terminal, so I can see the output the whole time. And so, unless they can figure out a way around that, I think they need to make their own terminal, personally.
Yeah, I don't know. I think obviously their main focus will be on Claude Code for a long time here, because it is a winning product for them.
Yeah.
And yeah, they don't have their own Cursor or anything like that. Cursor's kind of in a good spot of being in the middle, where it doesn't have, like, it can just play both sides and come out on top because it can have all of the models. But this time they seemingly did partner with OpenAI quite heavily on GPT-5, which was the first time I think they'd done that over the Claude models. But yeah.
Here's another thing. I had forgotten that I have the GitHub Copilot subscription. So I opened up VS Code the other day, and I just wanted to see how Copilot has evolved. And it actually did a pretty good job of like indexing the code base and then doing some improvements. So I think Microsoft is coming for them. Like they're trying to compete with at least Cursor.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting to see if they can actually do that.
Well, I was very surprised in the poll we did on our audience on coding tools. Cursor and GitHub Copilot were pretty much neck and neck. So I think it's one of those things of the people who didn't switch to Cursor early had no reason to leave VS Code. And once VS Code's sort of catching up, they're just still using it.
I was one of them, actually. Yeah. I never even used Cursor other than I was forced to in my previous workplace, but never really bought a subscription or anything.
Yeah, but I think Microsoft and VS Code, they partner heavily with Anthropic as well, or OpenAI. They have a lot of money in OpenAI. So yeah, they have a benefit of pushing the GPT-5 models as well. Talking about other AI tools then, one of the things that can actually improve these AI tools a lot is tools like MCP and other protocols that they can use. Andris, I believe you recently did a video on that. Can you explain some of these protocols to us?
Yeah, so I dove into the rabbit hole of all the different protocols that are being published out there. And, well, TLDR is that MCP and A2A are the ones that are heavily being used right now. The others are just like trying to get in that space and just wishfully thinking that they might corner a certain segment of the whole AI space. It kind of feels like, remember when crypto was a big thing? Like everyone was coming out with their coin, but every coin was substituted by a white paper. And back in the day, a white paper was actually something you trusted. It was like an academic research paper. Now it feels like those white papers were vibe coded by people. Even the crypto white papers, you can't even trust them. There's like, they just need the white paper so they can just publish their coin. It kind of felt like that with these protocols, because some of them are very, very specific, and they try to solve an issue that might not even need solving. And a lot of the papers are coming from Chinese developers. So I'm really seeing that they're trying to, gain some kind of momentum. So I think the way it works is like you have an idea for a new AI protocol that's going to solve an issue. Like an example is with the ANP protocol, the Agent Network Protocol. Basically, the idea is so utopic. It's like any agent can talk to any agent using a basic REST interface and through a HTTP. But that means that everyone needs to adopt this framework in their infrastructure. And they released this whole page documentation how to implement it, but then they don't have a real demo of it. And then I'm thinking like, this is just wishful thinking. Like you're trying to change the world with this one protocol. So and another thing that I find interesting is that like Anthropic made MCP, and MCP is now like a standard. Everyone knows what that is.
Yeah.
But I'm also surprised that there was no competition to it. Like MCP came out from Anthropic, and all other big companies like Google, OpenAI were just, let's use this. This is a good protocol. I was thinking maybe they might want to push back and develop their own technology that would be, compatible with their own tools. It's kind of like a story where these big companies just miraculously agreed on a standard. I was thinking like there would have been a bit like a fight between those big companies, but that wasn't the case. And same with the A2A, probably because Google is a big company and they pushed their own protocol and everyone was like, okay, let's use A2A. That's going to become a standard now. For the others, IBM is like a dinosaur at this point, and they're trying to push their ACP protocol, which is basically the same as A2A. I don't really see a difference why you need another one.
Yeah.
They're just trying to simplify what A2A is, which is good, but sometimes it's also bad because maybe you need some more functionality in that. So it's kind of a weird space. Like everyone's trying to make their protocol the next big thing, the next MCP. And I don't think like there's going to be a lot of success in there. So when you're researching like how many protocols are there, a lot of them are just trash. Like, you know, they're not going to go anywhere. They're just a page with a white paper and a GitHub repo, and that's it. But it was interesting to explore like how this space is so, you know, convoluted with different options, and everyone's trying to like make the next big thing. It really reminds me of the crypto boom when everyone tried to make the next Bitcoin, you know?
Yeah. No, I was very surprised when I saw the video on the amount of new protocols I didn't know, because obviously MCP and A2A, they've been around a little bit longer, and then there was just so many other acronyms that are being invented now.
Yeah.
And yeah, obviously MCP did very well. I think part of the success of MCP is it is pretty simplistic. It's very easy to understand MCP if you have your tools and sort of your responses, the prompts and things like that.
Yeah.
And it also tied in really well with his existing like REST APIs and things like that. It's really easy to turn a REST API into an MCP. So I think that's part of the success of MCP. And it kind of just makes sense to me. A2A, I didn't actually know if anyone had used that in the real world yet, because I made a video on it when it first came out. But has anyone actually implemented A2A successfully?
Part of my video, I did a little demo how A2A works.
Yeah.
And you can like fork that repository and try it on your own. I haven't seen like real world examples.
Yeah.
I've just read that some products did incorporate A2A, and probably that was to make them compatible with maybe Gemini or something else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I suppose A2A is probably more of a protocol that you're not supposed to see as much as an individual.
Exactly. It's working behind the scenes.
Behind the scenes, whereas MCP is like you connect your own MCPs whenever you want to whatever tool you're using.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, in my head, I don't see the benefit of A2A. I'm sure you guys who've done the research, you kind of know when best to use it, but I'm just like, why, in my head, if I'm using Claude Code, why would I then want my agent to talk to another agent if it's doing something on my behalf? I don't know.
I guess, yeah, I guess the only scenario I can think of is like, if Claude Code is perfect at coding, but then there's this other agent who is just phenomenal at like travel booking, right? Then you want to connect those two agents because Claude Code is not going to do as good of a job as that travel booking agent or whatever. But yeah, that's a very niche scenario, I think.
Just on that this is such a random tangent, but I swear every agent protocol, like agent promotion thing, seems to use travel booking as the example.
Yeah, that's
like
they
seem to be trying to solve travel booking like exclusively. I've seen it in so many demos, and it just makes me laugh every time. But yeah, that's my random side tangent on that.
Yeah, I feel like everyone is waiting for the future where an AI agent will be able to automatically book you a plane ticket and find the cheapest plane ticket possible.
Yeah.
And yeah.
So what is the most random, from your research, Andris, what was the most random, single random and pointless protocol that you saw?
Well, I think the one AITP, the one that is like, it's connecting your crypto wallets with AI, and I think like why would you mix those two together? Because
it seems dangerous.
It seems dangerous, right?
Yeah.
Like why would you trust your financial information to an AI agent? And even their paper was very like, it didn't go into much detail, so I didn't bother actually like exploring it that much. But like you can see like, this is for the crypto bros who are like, oh, this is the future, man. You know? Also, another side note that I'm going to say, like a few weeks ago, I did the video on the browser OS, like the open source browser.
Yeah.
And then when I did the MCP demo in my recent video, I kind of realized you don't even need a browser. You just hook up a good browser MCP server, which was developed by ByteDance. So yeah, that's a really good MCP. Like I tried it out and it's works great. So yeah, so it's like anyone can build their own automated browser now. Like, I don't know, launch Chromium, attach an MCP server that browses the net automatically. You just need a good model. I think that the key is like choose the best model that's gonna communicate with that particular MCP server the best, and then yeah, you have your own automated browser.
You know, MCP servers are great. There's only, to be honest with you, like two that I use quite a lot, which was Context 7 for loading in documentation, and then also grep for like searching GitHub for real code examples.
Yeah.
Other ones on top of that I haven't found overly useful. Some of them seem a bit restricted still, Like I tried the Notion MCP one, and it wasn't perfect for me.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's a few others like that.
But you do agree that it kind of feels like the new API, right? Every big company is now trying to build an MCP server for their services.
Yeah, and as I said, I think part of it is because you can so easily convert an API into an MCP server. Yeah, it's sort of incredibly easy to do. But yeah, it seems like every company does need an MCP now. I mean, a lot of them are actually quite helpful. So
yeah, I reckon like the next pitches for new companies, like the investors will ask, "Oh, well, do you have an MCP server? No, then what are you doing here? Like, go build one."
Going back to the topic of AI browsers, have you guys heard of Comet from Perplexity?
Yeah, I haven't tried it, but I've heard of it.
No, I haven't tried either.
I didn't try it because it's paid. It's not free. So, but yeah, I'd be curious to know if it's that good to pay for it.
Yeah, and then you've got obviously Dia from the Arc
Dia
browser who are trying it as well.
I was going to say, I've messed about with Dia. I like it because you can use it to like summarize things in the browser in different tabs. Scott Tolinsky from the Syntax podcast, I listened to the episodes and he says Dia is rubbish compared to Comet, because Comet you can say, hey, go to Amazon, find me the best shaver, whatever, and then order it for me. Or do it, put it in your basket, and you can ask it to do multiple things in different tabs and like just give it tasks and go off and it'll come back and it'll do all of it. And I was like, I need to try it because the way he's explaining it sounds like a game-changing browser. I'm not sure if Andris browser is a similar thing.
Here's my question on that. It might work, but it's gonna use a lot of tokens. It's a very expensive operation to do, and that's why I think maybe it is paid, because they're not gonna let you do all those token operations for free. So that's why I think it hasn't gone to the level yet where you can freely offer it as a product, because it's still very expensive. Like browsing the web with an MCP server is still a very costly operation for any AI browser.
Yeah.
What is it? I'm asking from a layman's explanation. What is it that makes it expensive? Is it like using vision to visually look at all the images and understand what they're doing and understand the page? Like what's going on?
I think so, because the way it works is basically a wrapper around Puppeteer, right? And for Puppeteer to scrape your web page, you need the context of the whole web page. And like in early days when ChatGPT didn't have that big of a context, I think I saw a Fireship video about like scraping Amazon, and I thought, oh, I'm gonna try this. So I copy pasted the Amazon page on ChatGPT, and it was too long. It's enormous. Like just going to the Amazon and getting the raw HTML output of that file is gonna cost you a lot of tokens. So if they can somehow improve like just, not looking at the entire page, but trying to like, I don't know, somehow look at segments. But then, how does that work actually?
Well, you've got a few tools that can do that, like Firecrawl and a few others. They scrape the sites sort of for you and try convert the relevant bits to Markdown, because obviously like, your LLM doesn't need to know about the CSS that was on the page. It just needs to know the information.
Exactly. And
so there's tools out there that can help.
I bet they now have their own MCP server.
They definitely do. Yeah, I would imagine they do. Yeah. It's, as I said, it is just so easy to wrap one around an API and then you're good to go.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, it's a dystopian world, AI browsers, to me.
Yeah.
I'm not sure like where the web is going to direct itself to if the way we're supposed to use it in the future is just asking an AI to do something. Like I saw the Dia browser had like a promotional video saying like in the future you'll just say at New York Times, and then he said like, are there any good articles about Dia the browser, because they recently had one in the New York Times, and then it returns like yes, and then he says, did they say like anything positive about the Dia browser? But I'm like, but someone's put their time and effort into writing that article for you, and then you've just asked an AI to summarize the good bits, and it's weird that, it sort of is going to upset the economy of the internet, which has been the same way and sort of relying on SEO. So the next
and
big
then
thing...
on the other side, there might be New York Times reporters who are like, hey, can you please draft an article about Dia browser if it's...
Eventually, we're just going to end up with AI talking to AIs. Yeah. I don't know where the human in the loop comes in. We'll find out. We'll rewatch this in 10 years and see how the world changed.
Yeah,
I think I already do that. I already do that with long Slack posts. Like if someone's put a long Slack messenger up in Slack, I'm like, I'm not reading that. Copy, paste, summarize this, job
TLDR.
done. Sometimes 11 Labs API, read it to me because I'm not bothered to read. There we go, job done.
Yeah, nice.
And another tool that I haven't used this, maybe you guys have used this. This is going on a tangent, but I just thought it's so cool. Like you can, apparently there's like notebook something AI where you can like input your text and it will output a podcast episode of that text. So it's more interesting for you to listen to it. I thought like, that's a cool idea actually.
It's been around a while and it's really cool. It's Notebook LM by Google.
Notebook LM.
There was a really funny experiment with it where someone uploaded a PDF that literally just said poo 1,000 times. And the AI genuinely created like a 10-minute podcast just talking about this PDF. And it was so funny. Like they do it really well. And like they did try and create like a podcast about it. But it's a very funny tool.
If we put this in the podcast, we'll have to put the link in the description.
Yes.
To that.
Yeah, no, I'll try to fish that out.
Yeah.
That's all we have time for on the first episode of the podcast. If you did listen to the end, let us know your topic suggestions in the comments down below. I've been your host, James, on the Better Stack podcast. Goodbye.
See ya.
Bye, guys.
Subscribe to Better Stack, and we'll see you in the next one.